Many people think when I forgive you now, then you must be okay. That's not true. That's not true. Yeah, we have to be very scriptural and practical. Yes, you have forgiven me, but I need to give you space to process that because you have been hurt. Yes. And if I'm sorry, I must give you that space to process that. And I must not pressurize you to act as if everything is okay now. Because many partners, they will just say to their partner, "Oh, you're spoiling a good time now. We should have had a good time."
Hello and welcome to Emotional and Mental Justice. I'm Una and welcome to my podcast. In this episode, I am joined by Pastor Joe Kadembo. He's the founder of Village 14 podcast. He's an inspirational man. He's a motivational speaker. In this episode, we actually just had a chat and decided to press record where we were talking about a potential future episode based on forgiveness, the dimensions of forgiveness. Enjoy. So go ahead. I'll let you take the floor. Forgiveness.
Yeah, I'm coming to your platform, so I would like to see how forgiveness can feed into emotional and mental justice. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I think my approach is like I told you about the dimensions of forgiveness.
Yeah.
But my approach is more like something has happened between you and somebody who is close to you.
Okay.
So this is very interpersonal. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And say you manage to forgive and then to let that go. Mm. But then what happens is then from that time onwards, you put up walls around yourself. And most likely these walls are brought by the fact that you think, I was very stupid. I was very passive. Mm. Why didn't I see that coming? Why didn't I do better? So instead of working on that to see how we can heal from that and then remain engaged or with the possibility of getting into relationships without walls. Because walls, unfortunately, when you put up walls after forgiving somebody, what it means is those walls are going to keep out the pain, yes, but the walls are also going to keep out the love. Mm. So what is going to happen is from that day onwards, whoever is going to try to love you is not going to be able to love you. They are going to love the wall.
They can't come in. The wall is too hard to break down.
Yes. And the problem with walls is there's no door. There's no window. It's just a wall. And that's the problem. That's why you find people that are going, say, through some romantic relationship, and they say, well, everything is okay, but I don't feel loved. I don't feel touched. I don't feel moved, because obviously there are walls that were set up by somebody prior to this person that you are with right now. Mm. So many people, when they are talking about such scenarios, they will talk about this is unforgiveness. Or you need to forgive and forget, all kinds of things, which I will contest, because when you forgive, forgiveness and trust are two different things.
Okay.
Yeah, forgiveness and reconciliation are two different things.
Okay.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So but the key thing is when you have been hurt, what usually happens is you might say, I don't trust people anymore.
Yeah.
I don't trust men, or I don't trust women, or I don't trust organizations. And then you put up walls, you put up equipment to protect you. But usually, if you look very carefully, you realize that it's not that you don't trust men or women or people. The sad thing is you actually don't trust yourself.
I was feeling that energy from you when you were about to say trust yourself. It's very true, because I like everything you've talked about, especially like you talked about self-blame. When you put up these walls and you start saying, why didn't I see this coming, and everything, it becomes about self-blame, and we don't work on that. Then we forget the problem as well. We forget that who did what. We start saying, if I didn't do this, they wouldn't have done this. If I didn't behave like that. Yes. And we sometimes put someone on a pedestal. We start to think, oh my God, it's not them, it's me, because I behaved in an inappropriate way. So I like that.
Yeah. So usually we become very hard on ourselves, and then we put up these walls, we put up these equipment that is designed to protect us. But unfortunately, the truth is I don't trust myself anymore. Because if say I go through things, I forgive, and then I realize the truth for what it is, it's not just about me.
Yeah.
They made their choice and it hurt me. I chose to forgive. If I choose to reconcile. If I choose to give them a space to build the trust again. But it's not only about me. So if you can be very realistic and be able to forgive yourself, what it means is you don't need walls when you have forgiven. What you need is, you might need boundaries, yes, because the good thing with boundaries is boundaries are flexible, and boundaries, you can enforce them, because it's not like walls. Walls are not flexible. A wall is a wall. It's there. But a boundary can flex. If I see a few things that cause me to trust you, then I can move the boundary to create more space for you. If I see that you're reluctant and you're going back to older patterns, I can enforce a boundary that's deeper than what was there. I'm in control. But what is happening is, I'm not going to say I don't trust men, I don't trust women, and put up a wall, because that what it means is, I don't believe that I'm strong enough to advocate for myself when things are going wrong.
Yeah.
Now that becomes a problem. So what it means is, whichever relationship you go through, instead of believing in yourself, believing in your power, trusting that even if this relationship does not go well, I will be okay.
Yes.
If you can't trust yourself, then number one, you won't be vulnerable. And the sad thing is, when you're not vulnerable, you cannot be intimate when you're not vulnerable.
Because you're running away. You're hiding, like you say. Yeah.
Yeah.
And no, go on,
yeah.
Go ahead.
I listened to this friend of mine, and he was talking, and he said, in boxing, you can't land a punch without exposing yourself to receiving one. So obviously, when you throw a punch, your face is open, you are going to receive one. So what he said was, in life, you can't create an impact without being vulnerable.
Yes,
you can't connect to another human being without being vulnerable. And when you get into relationships and you are guarded, it's never going to be intimate. It's never going to be satisfying, because you are guarded. And it's not necessarily because of this person, but it's because of what happened in the past. Now you don't trust yourself. You trust in your tools. You trust in your walls. So your partner is going to spend the rest of his life trying to get used to your tools and your walls. Meanwhile, you are not happy. Meanwhile, you think something is wrong.
Yes, and in that time, when your partner gets used to those tools and those walls, and they've learned to navigate the relationship from their part, learn to navigate it in the way that you've been teaching them to, but then you withdraw because you didn't trust all along. So that process you've created then becomes, not what it should have been anyway. And then your partner will have to start relearning the new you again. So to find the real us to begin with, I think that's very important, or to try and find that.
Yeah. Whenever anything happens, it's not just about forgiving the other person and that's it. It's about also forgiving yourself and loving yourself, believing in yourself, believing in your power, believing in your ability, believing in your self-advocacy. You need that sound enough before you get involved in another relationship. Because usually when things go wrong in a relationship, people fall into the next relationship very quickly.
Yeah.
And that is a problem, because you haven't even worked on yourself. Because if you are in a relationship and you are connected, if that goes wrong, you will be affected. But you need time to work on that before you get into the next relationship, or before you transfer that to other relationships. You need to work on yourself. But you need to get to a stage where you believe in yourself.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to acknowledge that time is different for everyone. Time for me could be 3 days, because in those 3 days, I already had this emotional strength. Unfortunately, it got broken. But within these 3 days, I've done the reparation. For somebody else, it could take a year, because they may not have had this stability.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's very true. Time is personal. You know, what I need and what you need might be very different. It depends on where I am when whatever happened, but definitely time factor is different. You're right. Yeah.
Yes, I love that. And I think it's important also that we acknowledge the fact that walls are important to have initially. Not that they're important, but they're okay. Because when we've been hurt, we have to protect ourselves. We have to create a shell. Otherwise, anything will flood in.
Yes, yes, there is space for walls, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but the problem is if you then learn to trust those walls and never develop other skills, then that we have a problem now. Because
they become your friend. Forever. Yeah, yeah.
Or they become your prison because you can't get out.
Yeah.
Because if you go to a party, you take your walls with you. If you go to the university, take your walls with you. Whoever you meet, whoever feels they want to connect with you, they feel your walls. And they bounce back. So
I like how I've said they become your friend, and you said, or they become your prison. So these are two very different things. So the friend that they become are your security, your safety blanket. But then there are also good friends, and there are bad friends.
Yeah.
So is the wall your bad friend, and then so that bad friend then becomes your prison. So I like the whole, the way it all links to each other.
Yeah. I think it's all correct in the sense that when you get hurt, even this physical body, when I get hurt on this leg, the body begins to cover that with layers of skin and stuff, because immediately that is going to happen to stop the bleeding. So that means the body puts up a wall to stop the bleeding. But while the wall has been put up, there is healing that is working under that wall. And when the healing is complete, the scab just drops off. And then you realize, oh, there was healing happening under this wall. So you put up walls. These are your friends, yes. But inside those walls, there must be healing that is going on. So that as soon as you are healed, the scab drops off. And then you are healed. You take yourself into other relationships, you know.
Yeah, exactly. I like that as well. The scab drops off. And then how are we linking this into faith and Christianity?
Right. Yeah. God is about forgiveness. The Bible says how God anointed Jesus and he preached the reconciliation and forgiveness. His message was to say, God has already forgiven you. Come the way you are, because these people were tired of performing and they couldn't please God anymore. So God decides to bring Jesus as a sacrifice, and Jesus says, now you can come as you are because the price has been paid. So come, let's connect. Yeah. Come, let's connect. Jesus talks about the peace that I give you. It's not like the world gives. This one is based on what I've already done. Come, let's connect together. Safety is not in a lot of things. Safety is in connection. So it's based on forgiveness. So when you confess your sins to God, say you want to have a relationship with God, and you say, God, I've messed up, here I am. The difference with God is God has already forgiven you. He has already counted the cost. He has already seen the whole picture to the end and come back and that is forgiving. You just have to acknowledge, and then boom, that's okay.
Yeah,
but then you take that now to human beings. There's a slight different dynamic right there, where if something happens, I have to choose to forgive you. And when I choose to forgive you, it doesn't necessarily mean that everything's okay straight away.
No.
Now, the same Jesus says, when evil is not confronted, it's going to prosper. So when you have hurt me, and I forgive you, and the evil continues, I must confront that, because if I don't, it's going to prosper. And the Bible talks about when there is a mess up between the two of us, I have a right to see fruit, or I have a right to see you reacting in situations of life differently from how you used to react when you hurt me. So the Bible agrees with the fact that I will know you as you react to the situations of life. So something has happened, but as time goes on, like we said, we need time. As time goes on, things are going to happen. I'm going to see how you're going to react to the situations that life throws at you. That's going to be a sign to me that you are worth my trust or not.
And that's the relationship. Sorry, that's the relationship with God, and that's the relationship as humans we can have with each other.
Yes, yeah. Because I am not God. I can't see what's in your heart. I can't see your intentions. but I can see your reactions
to
what life throws at us. And that's what I can base my faith on and trust on. To say, okay, you messed up, but you've done this. There's a little bit of trust. There's something is going on. You keep that going on over time. Eventually, I feel convinced that I can trust you again. And then that heals our relationship, you know.
Absolutely. And this just makes me think of like when we say that God won't put you in a situation that you can't come through. And he's also seeing your reactions to things. Is my child ready for me to give them this assignment at this stage in their lives? And if our reactions, then we've worked on ourselves, we've grown, we've changed in our faith, and then God will say, yes, you're ready for this now. Whilst we might find it difficult, God knows our reaction to it. And that we're ready.
So, but what people do, the mistake people do is, say I do something against you and then I hate you, and then I apologize, and then after 10 minutes I'm thinking, come on, I've apologized. Why can't you have a good time with me? Let's have a good time. And then you are saying, no. Yes, I've forgiven, but I need a bit of space to I mean, emotionally, I need even to recover from this. But many people think when I forgive you now, then you must be okay. That's not true. That's not true. Yeah, we have to be very scriptural and practical. Yes, you have forgiven me, but I need to give you space to process that because you have been hurt.
Yes.
And if I'm sorry, I must give you that space to process that. And I must not pressurize you to act as if everything is okay now. Because many partners, they will just say to their partner, oh, you're spoiling a good time now. We should have had a good time. But you keep on making reference to the past. No. I need space to process that.
Yes, and we have to remember that forgiveness is a choice. In many situations, forgiveness is a choice. Sometimes it comes naturally to you. You just don't feel the pain anymore. You're like, oh, I didn't even realize I don't feel the pain. I must have forgiven. But normally forgiveness is a choice. So when somebody is pressurizing you straight after that, it's got the danger of you withdrawing that forgiveness because you're saying, after all, I'm telling them I've forgiven them and they're still pushing. Perhaps they don't deserve my forgiveness, and then you move far left, and then it goes back to you building these walls that you can't break down again. So I think it's very important to give somebody time, but that's also for us to know, not just for us to be given time, for us to know them. When somebody forgives us, that doesn't mean everything is okay. We need to allow them space, as well as we expect it, we give the same.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah. So it kind of comes across as I'm saying you have to be okay now because I've said I'm sorry. No. Words alone cannot be enough. I need to see more than that. I need to see fruit. That's why the Bible says, let us produce the fruit of repentance. That means the fruit that your mind is not different from what it was in the past. I need to see that because the Bible says, if any man is in Christ, he's a new creature. It says, behold, everything has become new. That means look and see that things have become new. So I'll be very passive if you steal my 10 pounds and then after 10 minutes I leave my purse with you with 500 pounds. You know, that's very passive. I need you to prove to me over time that you are not different before I can leave my purse.
Exactly, absolutely, that's very powerful. And also to remember, who are we forgiving for? Because sometimes forgiveness, we do it for ourselves. So just because I'm forgiving you, Pastor Joe, about something, for example, you're then thinking, okay, you've forgiven me, so what's the problem? But I may still have this resentment, this anger towards you, but I'm choosing to forgive because I want to heal for me. And I'm not saying that's the right way to forgive, but sometimes I'm choosing to forgive because I'm hurting too much to carry on like this.
Yes. You are raising two powerful things there. Number one, forgiveness is actually for me, because you remember we talked about forgiveness is setting a prisoner free, only to realize that the prisoner is actually you.
Oh, I love that. I love that expression.
When you don't forgive somebody, you tie yourself to what they've done. It never leaves you because you're connected through unforgiveness. So when you forgive, you are loosening yourself. And you might extend that to them, but you are loosening yourself. That's the most important thing. That's why Jesus says, when you are giving your offering and you realize there's an issue between you and your brother, don't give your offering, go and sort it out first. That means relationship is more important than what you're going to give God here, So it's more about me, because I need to be free from this. Now, Desmond Tutu said something that I think is also powerful. The South African reconciliation Archbishop, he says, forgiveness is not forgetting, because many people think that when you forgive, you should forget. No. Desmond Tutu says forgiveness is not forgetting. He says forgiveness is remembering, but not using that to strike back and continue to work in revenge. But forgiveness is remembering and making a choice not to use it against the person who hurt you. So there's nothing wrong in remembering what you've gone through, and it's always there. You can be triggered, you can think about it. It's you have been hurt. So forgiveness is remembering, but refusing to use your justification to lash back or to strike back. Because once you strike back and you lash back, you become the same as the person who has hurt you. So, but to be the better person, you remember, yes, but you don't use it against them.
And it's important to remember, because when you remember that, it's a conscious decision again to say, okay, this is what they did. I have to remember, I have to reflect, I have to say, I'm capable of doing, negative to this person because of my anger, but I'm working on it. And I love that from Desmond Tutu.
Exactly. If you read his article, he goes on to say, remembering is good, like you said, because then it tells me what I should always never do. That remembering is got to be there so that we avoid doing the same thing tomorrow. But if we forget, there is a tendency to be reluctant and fall back into the default pattern and then hurt ourselves the same way again.
Absolutely. I love that.
Forgiveness is,
So Pastor Joe, we have some very powerful stuff in here. We have forgiveness is such a big, beautiful, powerful topic, and I think everyone, even someone who professes to be a person who embodies all this forgiveness and stuff like that, even they have a lot to learn.
Yeah, I think so. I think forgiveness is quite massive, really. Yeah. I wanted to read this to you. When I trust myself, when I trust my own strength, when I trust my ability to pay attention and to act accordingly, if somebody is not making me happy, regardless of how I feel for that person, then I have healed and I'm safe to move on. I want you to hear that, because I'm talking about trusting myself, trusting my own strength, trusting my ability to pay attention in spite of how I feel about the person. Because one of the weaknesses that we have is when I feel strongly about you, I'm so much in love with you, I feel strongly about you, I tend to ignore the red flags all around. And then I get hurt more and more and more. Or when I've been hurt and I resent you, I want the worst to happen to you, I feel so strong in that conviction. That is going to blind me, because that is a sign that I am not healed yet. Because when you are healed, you are able to make the right decision, even though you feel strongly for the person, negative or positive. You are still able to make the right decision. But the problem is we especially in romantic relationships, we go into relationships, and already when we get into the relationship, we have written a story about how the relationship is going to end before it started. Now, stories can be very dangerous, because as soon as I have that story in my head, when I meet up with you, everything that is going to be contrary to my story, I'm going to dismiss it.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to ignore it, because I have to make sure this romantic story I have is going to come to pass.
And then we forget that two people, it's two people coming together. So they have their own notions, you have your own, and we have to merge somehow.
Yes. So now one other author said to me, relationships end the way they started. And then I said, how so? And they said, because how they start is how they end, in the sense that the red flags that you ignored are the very same red flags that are there at the end of the relationship. But this time you are paying more attention because of pain. So how they started is how they end. If you look at how they started, the flags were there, but you ignored them. Now, Jesus comes in and he says, if evil is not confronted, it will prosper. That means the red flags you are ignoring at first are not going to go away. They are going to prosper and become more mature.
Yeah.
When the relationship comes to an end, you realize what is ending the relationship is actually what was there at the beginning of the relationship.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Sorry, I was just going to say, I love that you said we ignore the red flags rather than we don't see the red flags, because they're there. We know that they're there. You always see them. And then the fact that we chose to ignore them consciously because our love for that person or our desire for that person overpowered it.
Yes, we have a story that we want to make sure it's fulfilled. Our friends know about these, our relatives, and everybody is saying, yes, this is it. And then we are also defending the story. Yet we need to value our relationship for what it is on that day, not for what it's going to be 6 months down the line. No. Let's assess the relationship for what is right that day, so that when evil begins to happen, you don't let yourself be hurt in the name of a romantic story.
Yes, I agree.
You advocate for yourself right there. You speak up. You show this person that I can defend myself. I love you, but this it doesn't fly with me. If we don't deal with this, then this relationship is not going to go any further. Because I don't want to carry offenses. I don't want to carry unforgiveness, So many people talk about patience. And they say, when you are in a relationship, you must be patient. Patience does not mean ignoring the red flags.
Yeah.
Because when you ignore the red flags, Jesus says they will prosper. So patience is addressing the red flags and giving the person time to develop fruit that shows you that they've changed.
Yeah.
But many people, they see the red flags, they ignore them, and they say, I've given you 6 months and you haven't changed. And then the other person is thinking, when did you give me 6 months? You never even told me that this was hurting you. But in your mind, you just ignore. Maybe some people are afraid of confrontation. Some people are afraid of, and yet confrontation is a beautiful thing. Because if I care about you, I'll confront you.
It gives you the opportunity to discuss.
Yes. Yeah. What I'm saying is, you matter to me. You are so important. I can't let this interfere with our relationship. So I'll confront you because I care. But many people would rather avoid that and hope that they will change. Hope that somehow they will know that they have offended me. They will never know.
But that confrontation will come one day because things come to a head. It will come. You're avoiding it today, but it will come when the things have been highlighted. You said, and I think another important dynamic, which you've just touched upon actually, is forgiveness in the midst of a relationship, because which comes into confrontation and everything. Because normally when we think of forgiveness, it's like something has ended, it's finished, the damage has been done. Now we're forgiving.
Exactly.
But now, what about when we're here? We're forgiving, but we're choosing to move on together. Have you really forgiven? If you're saying, let's carry on, let's say, for example, as a couple, let's carry on and I forgive you, but every second you get is like, after all you did this, and after all you did this, and then you keep bringing it back. So I think that's another dynamic to forgiveness.
That one I had not seen it, but thank you for bringing it up. That's a powerful dimension where we forgive each other, we're still together, but then how do we navigate that? How do we keep going on and drop the negative and pick the positive and love life? Because you can stay together and create your own hell, the two of you. You're constantly reminding each other of how bad and evil you were, and it can be hell on earth. Because interpersonal relationships, if they are not moving and smooth and healed, they can be the closest thing to hell.
Yeah, exactly. And my friend, actually, who I did a podcast with on forgiveness and Christianity, she said at the beginning, she said forgiveness to her means wiping the slate clean. So I think her meaning there was completely as if it never happened. So yes, you can remember it, you can know that it happened, but you're really behaving as if this person didn't do this thing to you.
I know. Yeah, I hear what your friend was trying to say, but also I have a different take on that. I've been into relations where you wipe the slate clean, but the danger of wiping the slate clean is because you have to wipe everything out, because you can't just wipe the negative and leave the positive, because the positive may have been inspired by the negative. Maybe this was a love bombing relationship. Maybe this was a manipulative relationship that resulted in you thinking you're being loved. So how do you separate the good from the bad? So it's a bit tricky. So when you say a clean slate, what you're meaning is even the good and the bad, let's throw them out. Let's start afresh. So what it means is I don't have any reason to trust you now because there's nothing between us.
Okay.
Yeah, we are starting from square one, you know. So
you're saying it's difficult to differentiate, to separate the good from the bad. You can't say let's wipe the bad and let's only keep the good, because it's twofold. It's both things were there in the relationship. So I understand your side as well.
Yeah, it's food for thought, because whatever good was going on may have been influenced by something bad that was also going on. Like I said, if I'm love bombing you, I'm a narcissist. I'm loving you. I'm sending you 200 flowers a day and everything, and then it's so beautiful. You love the feeling of being in love, but it was a love bombing that was designed to blind you. How do you separate the love bombing from the beautiful flowers? You see,
because the beautiful flowers are a memory of what the outcome.
Yeah.
Oh God, that's powerful. That's powerful stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I think people are struggling with, something happens, I forgive you, and then let's move on. How do we move on? Yes, I've forgiven you. I think the major struggle I've seen for over 20 years of ministry is the carefulness where somebody doesn't trust themselves anymore. I think that's the major weakness. Because if you still trust yourself after whatever happened, you can still present your vulnerable self back and still engage. Because when something happens and you are now guarded, you can't be intimate anymore. You can't be close that as close as you used to be. Because that closeness was inspired by total vulnerability.
Yeah.
But can you be totally vulnerable with somebody who has hurt you so deeply?
But yes, very important. But also, I just thought of another dynamic. I mean, there's so much to forgiveness.
There is.
That's why we're finding it difficult to deal. I just wrote this down. I keep looking down because I have a pen as well to jot down. So allowing yourself to be forgiven. So we've talked a lot about us being the one who needs to forgive someone. When we wrong someone, sometimes we don't allow ourselves to be forgiven because we're constantly saying to ourselves, oh, but I feel so bad for what I did to you. And we're overcompensating with trying to give you these flowers or trying to do this because I can't deal with the fact that I've hurt you so bad.
Yeah. It's the struggle to receive forgiveness. It's the struggle to receive the forgiveness that is being offered freely because you think you don't deserve it. You think that was so bad. I think in Christianity, one of the things we learn to accept is we all fall short of the standard of the good person. There is a side to us that is horribly wrong, that only Christ can help us to keep that at bay.
Amen.
It's always there.
Amen to that.
I can be evil, I can be cruel. If I'm put in a very tight corner, I can lash out with the worst things you could ever think. I thought that guy was a pastor. I thought, no, I'm also human. And I carry a side of me that only Christ can help me to keep at bay. So when that side kind of comes out and it hurts you so deeply, I've got to accept that this is why Christ died for me.
Yeah.
We are all broken. We all need grace. We all need to accept that, you know what? I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I receive it. I have messed up big time. Yeah. One time I remember saying to one of my friends, I said, well, I deserve whatever is coming my way. And the friend said, nothing is coming your way because I don't do revenge. I don't do revenge. They were bigger than me. Yeah. So I think the ability to receive forgiveness. I don't know, why would a person struggle to receive forgiveness? Is that pride?
My thought on that one was just because you've really messed up. It's not natural for you to have done something so bad, but you got caught up in sin, or you got caught up in this, and you actually, at the end of it, when the light came, you realized that, oh my goodness, I can't believe I allowed myself to be this person, and therefore I don't deserve this forgiveness. Or if somebody says, let's carry on, for example, in this relationship, and you say, okay, I'll carry on, but I'm not worthy because I did such a bad thing to you. So how can I possibly accept? That's what I had in mind, but I'm guessing obviously there are many different reasons. Maybe pride could be one, but my thought was that.
Yeah. Just a minute, sorry.
No worries.
Here. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it's a struggle. It can be, or maybe you you had sincerely believed that you were better than that.
Yeah, and then that's what I'm trying to get at. You sincerely believe that this is not you. This is not the right thing. I mean, I'll talk about a personal situation just very briefly. I had a situation where I didn't attend an important wedding because of things and stuff, and I felt very bad, and it was not a good enough reason that I didn't go, and it was just things that were said and done. Ultimately, I should have been there and I should have supported this person. I never went back to them to apologize and to say to them I was wrong, I should have, because maybe the fear of the confrontation thing as well. I don't think it would have been confrontational, but I just felt there's no good enough excuse for me to go and say I didn't come because of this. And I feel like it wasn't the right thing. It was my responsibility, a duty as a friend, as a family member, or whatever, to have attended that wedding. And this wedding can't be redone. So I just felt like they don't deserve for me my explanation. So I don't deserve, you know. So
you struggle to forgive yourself.
Yeah, but I'm like, I really should have just been there when I should have been there.
It is what it is. We are all human at the end of the day. That's why Christ died for us. We are all human, and we need to accept that there are times that you are disappointed with yourself.
Yeah.
You really feel, you think, on my normal day, this would never happen. But what happened with me? What's wrong with me? We are all human, and that's why we need the grace of God. Otherwise, Christ wouldn't have died if we were capable of avoiding all these bad things. As much as there is good, there's always bad around the corner, and we are human.
We're absolutely human. Wow, I guess that's that. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you took something away from that. I certainly did. This man most certainly inspires me, and I could talk to him for hours. Do check him out. He's at Village 14 podcast, Pastor Joe Kadembo. Thank you.